And DD India's Preeti Kaur joins us for more on this. Well, Preeti, what is expected to be discussed at this extraordinary EU summit in Brussels, and why has Greenland become such a central part to the debate?
Yes, Greenland, because of its strategic location and rich natural resources, is being eyed by Donald Trump. But this is not for the first time that we see Donald Trump expressing his desire to own Greenland. And also other countries like China and Russia have been vying to buy Greenland. But this time around, as like other times, we've seen that the EU countries have strongly opposed it, and they are saying that Greenland is not up for grabs, is not up for sale. At the same time, this has become serious because European Council President Antonio Costa has called in for an emergency summit which will be discussing what options ahead could be taken up to prevent Trump from owning Greenland. And vehemently, the European countries have said that Greenland is not up for sale. This time around, Trump seems all the more resolved. US President Trump seems all the more resolved because he did mention that Denmark has not been able to thwart the Russian attempt to own Greenland, but this time the things will change and the situation will change, and he seems all the more resolved to own Greenland. In view of this, he has imposed or announced, in fact, 10% of sanctions, economic sanctions against 8 EU countries. 6 of these are part of the trade bloc of the European Union. And Trump has said that these sanctions will rise to 25% by June 1st if no agreement is being reached between on Greenland. And this is the bone of contention between EU at present and the US President Donald Trump. At the same time, European Council's President Antonio Costa has maintained that dialogue and diplomacy between EU and US on this shall continue.
Of course, Preeti, as Trump, of course, seems more resolved, but 8 European nations have publicly backed Denmark and Greenland. How significant is this show of unity within the Europe at this moment?
This is a very strong rebuttal put forth by these 8 European Union countries because all this while we've seen that European Union has always opted for dialogue and diplomacy during earlier times also, when we've seen the trade war or the sanctions which were earlier imposed by US on EU. And at the same time, dialogue and diplomacy was adopted by these EU countries during Russia-Ukraine war also. But this is for the first time that these 8 European Union countries have come together to voice their concern and their dismissal of whims and fancies of US President Donald Trump. They have vehemently said that they will not give into the desires of Donald Trump if he wants to own Greenland. At the same time, France has, in fact, one of these 8 countries is France also, and France has suggested to bring into effect the anti-coercion instrument. Now, this is what is also known as the trade bazooka, which means that US will have to face sanctions in the EU markets for European Union goods, and also US services will be facing sanctions. So this is something which has been attempted before, and France has suggested that this trade bazooka or the anti-coercion instrument be brought into effect. Added to that, these 8 European Union countries, in fact, they are mulling to bring into effect 93 billion euros of retaliatory sanctions, which were earlier put off after a truce between US and EU was finalized when the US President Donald Trump had earlier imposed sanctions on European Union. So this is what the European countries are mulling at present when we talk of their dismissal of US President Donald Trump's intentions of owning Greenland.
All right. Thank you so much, Preeti, for all that analysis.